The time is 5:40 p.m. I would like to call our town hall meeting to order. I will defer to our Budget and Finance Committee Chair, Vice President Green.
Turn it on. Thank you, President Bowers, and thank you to everybody for being here tonight. I'll kind of just give a little overview of what we're doing here tonight, and then there will be a presentation from the administration on the proposal itself. So first, I'll start off by saying this may look formal, but it's kind of one of those formally informal meetings. So please don't hold us to any grand standard. So tonight we're having a town hall meeting about the federal ARPA money that the city of Harrisburg was awarded. We were awarded a little over $47 million in total. The administration has put a proposal out to spend about $27 million, which you'll see the presentation on tonight in various different areas. So the purpose of tonight's meeting is just to get citizens' input, see how everyone's feeling about the proposal itself. If you like it, if there are some things you'd like to see changed, if there are areas you think should still need to be addressed, that's what the purpose of tonight's meeting is. Just kind of to get that complete and honest feedback on what's been put forth, so that as council is evaluating it and before we take any measures on it, we have the residents of Harrisburg's opinion on it. So now I'm going to turn it over to the administration. Thank you all for being here tonight to give us a presentation on the proposal itself, as well as various elements. So thank you.
Thank you, Council Vice President. We're going to go through the three presentations. I'll start with myself, then we're going to go to Denise and then Dave. So this is going to be the general overview of the ARPA plan as submitted. Just to give you a bit of a background on it, the city received approximately $47 million from the federal government, $47,073,625 last year, to be precise. In June of 2022, City Council did approve a tranche of the money to go to a couple different items. $5.5 million went to the HVAC replacement over in the public safety building. $1.26 million to go towards firefighter and police officer one-time bonuses, and then $8.8 million to cover some lost revenue due to the pandemic. So that worked out to $15.6 million spent. We're here today for the second part, which is $28.1 million. $14.5 million of that is for affordable housing, home repairs, delinquent trash utility relief, and small business grants. Denise Hill next to me is going to be presenting in depth on this topic. Then followed after that is $10 million for park and land improvements here in the city. Parks and Recreation, Dave Baker, to Denise's right, will be presenting on that. And then there are two other smaller components. We do not have these department heads here to discuss these, but I'll go through them in my presentation. The first is $1.5 million, help demolish properties on the demolition list, and then $900,000 to upgrade the Bureau of Fire's radio system. So to touch on those two subject matters, the $1.5 million to help to demolish properties on the demolition list. There's currently 111 buildings listed on the grade 1 condemned building list throughout the city. Just to give you a bit of a background, in 2022, the city was able to demolish 16 properties, 11 done in-house and 5 through contract. So looking at that and using that as the barometer of typically how many we would do in a year, an additional $1.5 million appropriation from ARPA will allow the city to demolish between 24 to 35 additional structures, making that total number for next year somewhere between 40 and 50. You know, I will say within this, if more money does go to this, it's fine. It's probably going to extend it out more than just next year. You know, that would be our goal, is with this money to get this taken care of next year. Just to speak a little bit about process moving on forward as it relates to the demolished properties that are on the demolition list. Once that appropriation happens, the Bureau of Codes and Department of Public Works will develop a plan to best use the funds and address the most pressing properties. There will be a hybrid of contracted out work and in-house depending on the scope of the job. So we're looking at developing that plan. So part of that plan is also going to be to pay attention in detail to where there's interest in redeveloping affordable housing. That was something that we had discussed at the last meeting. And with that, Codes and Public Works are committed to provide city council status updates during their quarterly update reports, just to let you know where things are at with those on the demolition list. The smallest of the two things I'm talking about is $900,000 upgrade for the Bureau of Fire's radio system. The current radio system that they're using is radios are 14 plus years old. Usable life is listed as 12 years, so they're doing pretty well with how they're maintaining them. You know, the issue we're running into with this is that the fire department's answering more and more calls outside of the city. This will help limit the issues they have as they go outside of the city, answering these in municipalities where they're having shortfalls of volunteer firefighters. Up to allowing us to have a radio system that's better compatible with our neighboring communities. We feel that this investment is going to go a long way in helping us combat fires, not only just here in the city, but our surrounding municipalities. And then the last component of everything, as in the legislation, has is $1.2 million administrative ask. The two individuals next to me know very well that everything that's written in this plan comes with the cost. So the $1.2 million request, which is far below the amount that they're allowing us to take, but this was the money that we put our heads together and figured would be the amount needed to operate and do everything we need to do and do it well, to cover all the administrative parts of what there are administrative tasks of what Parks and Rec and Building and Housing Program is going to talk about. But for everybody here in attendance and everybody on council, you know, there's one thing to definitely note as we're going through this. There's an unearmarked amount of money. It's approximately $3 million that's by design left unearmarked. Council as a body can choose to either appropriate these extra funds to existing program outline now or later, create new programming now or later, or hold the funding until next year to account for any additional costs that may arise. I will just note with that council has until the end of 2024 to obligate these funds, and the city has until the end of 2026 to have them spent. And this gets into something I had talked to Council Vice President about his future needs. We're going to have an open dialogue with everything we're talking about here throughout the rest of the year and throughout 2024 on ARPA budgeting and legislation. You know, one of the topics that's going to be really important is monies that are unused, leftover or unspent in programming. Probably by mid 2024, we have to put our heads together to quickly assess where things are at, and then if necessary, reallocate to other areas of need. The mayor is prepared to work with everybody here on council on making sure that every single dollar that we have here is properly spent in the community and is not sent back. And this is, I just think, one of the main things we have to work on over the next 18 months or so to ensure that that doesn't happen. Looking at that deadline of having the funds appropriated by the end of 2024. So I'm going to kick it over to Denise unless you want to do questions now. Okay.
Good evening, everyone. Denise Hill, Director of Housing and Economic Development here at the city. And I will go through DBHD's proposed portion of the ARPA funds, beginning with the Affordable Housing Program, $8 million. Throughout this presentation, you will hear me repeatedly say each program and what program we currently run that it mirrors. So everything is set up to already mirror a program that we currently run or that we have successfully run and spent the money down. So the first one is affordable housing. And this one is intended to further the efforts to build affordable units within the city. And they could be for rental or for home ownership. The largest portion of this money is going to propose to go to affordable housing because that is actually the smallest amount of money that we receive in entitlement as it relates to impact that it can make. So ESG, we only get about 170,000 on an annual, but in home development, we get 500,000 on average. And as you know, with construction costs, that is not enough to be meaningful to put out an application. So in the past, what we've done is we have only run applications for home development every other year or every 3 years so that the money can pool and it can be more meaningful. So the $8 million would have a greater capacity to go towards affordable housing units here in the city. And a stringent scoring rubric will be used by a panel of professionals that includes DBHD staff, HUD appointed consultants, which we already deal with, as well as a council person. So that way there is input all the way around on who is being awarded this money with contractors and developers. Here you'll see a picture of home development money. So the project is in play. These are on 15th and Swadera Street. This is a block of 16 homes. The last 3 were just completed within the past 2 or 3 months. These are all for sale to low to moderate income individuals in the city. Next, we have $5 million going towards homeowner occupied individuals that need assistance to bring their house up to code. So this mirrors our Housing Rehabilitation Program, or HRP, and the eligibility, you have to be low to moderate income, and these cover basic systems. So this is not for cosmetic fixes. This is roof, HVAC, electric, plumbing, things of that nature. So as opposed to being punitive, if someone cannot fix their home, these funds could go towards helping them, because if they're low to moderate income, a lot of times they're on a fixed income and they don't have disposable income to make upgrades to the home. And we want people to be able to stay in their homes, but to do so safely. Here you see some before and after pictures of projects that we've done through the HRP program. I will also add that we have a list of contractors that we deal with. And then what we will do is, if this program is approved as proposed, a homeowner could choose their own contractor, so they would not have to go with the list. So we would be able to move through all of the applicants faster. As of now, just for my HRP program, I have over 140 people on a wait list. So the need is absolutely there. And this way, by a homeowner being able to choose their own contractor, they would be able to still go through a vetting process so that we can make sure that this contractor is in good standing with the city. And then we would pay the contractor directly. Next, we have $1 million for residents in need going towards outstanding utility bills with the city. So this would mirror the rent relief program that we ran during COVID, but it would be limited. So that program went to rent, mortgage, and essential utilities. Proposed here would just be utility bills within the city of Harrisburg. So again, it would still go to low to moderate income individuals, and then we would be able to pay off the debt for those that are unable to kind of rebound and recoup on their utility bills. The months of eligibility, as you'll see, are between March 2020 and March of 2022. So these funds would not go to someone that has a long-standing outstanding bill that has predated, some of the challenges we've seen with COVID. And then the last slide that I have would go towards $500,000 being proposed to small business assistance. And again, that mirrors exactly the small business assistance program that was run. There were actually 2 different rounds that were successfully run. The first $500,000 was run through Impact Harrisburg, and then the second was run directly out of DBHD in partnership with Credit. So that would be $10,000 microloans to small businesses to help them stabilize. And again, the focus would be on small businesses who are employing individuals that are still technically at the low to moderate income level here in the city. And I also just wanted to state, there are draft policies and applications for each of the programs that were presented.
Good afternoon, Council. My name is David Baker. I'm the Parks and Facilities Director for the City of Harrisburg. So first off, I'd like to show you the Hall Manor Pool. As I'm sure everyone's aware, this pool was built in 1968. It has more than 3 times surpassed its expected lifespan. Some of these pictures are going to show you some of the state the pool's in, and then we can look at more of the fun stuff, what we're proposing to do to that area of the pool for our residents. So again, this just shows you some of the deck condition of the pool, some of the shell. It's, you know, it's separating, cracking, the ground underneath is moving, and it is in much needed repair, if not complete replacement. This is some of the overhangs going into the locker rooms and the outbuildings. Some of these pictures of of the sinks in the locker room. Just overall, you can see the condition. Again, more pictures of the locker room. And again, we just, you know, new floors, new walls, new ceiling, you name it, it just needs to be replaced at this point in time. More deck pictures of the pool shell itself. The amount of water that the city uses in this pool is again, it's overwhelming, and it's something that we have to address. All right, so here are some completely conceptual plans. We are still taking public input on what everyone would like to see, you know, what would best serve the residents. But this is a spray park and some options for different areas in an aquatic facility, similar to what we're proposing to do. Here'd be a lazy river. I mean, again, these are all conceptual, but these are all very plausible for the amount of funds that we're requesting for this project. Again, we'd like to show in this slide and the next slide the accessibility. So if we do an aquatic facility, we can have all different accessibility levels. No matter if you have a disability or not, an age group, it shouldn't matter whether you are very young or getting up there in years. You should be able to absolutely enjoy a facility such as this. We want to make sure that that happens for everyone. I think, you know, these structures, again, they lend themselves, they're a little more green than the pool. We can recycle the water. You know, they're going to be less cost for us overall in the long run, and hopefully we'll continue to keep everyone entertained throughout for many years to come. Again, we're just showing a little more possibilities. There's endless possibilities of different things that you can add or take away from these structures to just keep everyone absolutely entertained with new things year after year. All right, so this is a really small example of possible small business incubators for the aquatic facility. Something we'd like to tie in there, both small business incubators and like a small community center that you could do, have local venues, family parties, baby showers, you name it. But this would be an example of doing like a gated area for local food trucks or restaurants that could both feed the community and get people's name out there, you know, maybe launch a business. Obviously, they work with the city, and, you know, be a really good opportunity for everyone all around. All right, so this would be the request for the ADA specific playground. So the $1.5 million would be focused on the more of a destination playground for all different abilities, whether you have autism or physical disability. There will be something that will both engage and entertain you. We'd like to have a lot of kinetic play in here. Things that would be both visually stimulating, audible, and actual physical play structures themselves. So that's more of what we're going for this one specific pot of money. Again, this just shows you different type of play equipment because we are asking You can go to the next slide. We're asking for, multiple pots here. Again, this shows more of the newer style of play equipment. It's supposed to both physically and mentally engage children, because that's something we're hoping to really start pushing in all the parks throughout the city. More different types of play structures. Again, it shows we are trying to make every playground we do accessible for all abilities, but some will be more than others. Again, instead of just reading off the slides, you guys can see what they are, but more options for music play. Now we're on to the $500,000 for the dangerous and dying tree removal. This pot of money is specifically for the trees throughout the city. This would be to really kind of give us a kickstart on getting ahead of a lot of these trees that the residents have to deal with on a regular basis. As everyone here knows, that we are continuously battling with trees falling down, uprooting. It seems to happen once a week, and it's never a good thing whenever it happens in front of your house or on your car or in front of the street. So this is just some pictures, a few more in here if you'd like to look at them. You can see last year we spent over $300,000 out of the general fund for tree removal and pruning throughout the city. This is just for street trees, and we're hoping that the pot of money we're requesting will help us with that. And then long term, we're hoping to start getting ahead of these trees that need to be addressed greatly. This is just a typical picture. If you go down an alley in Harrisburg, it is not uncommon to see trees and vegetation like this. There's been a lot of deferred maintenance. A lot of residents don't know how to address this, or they physically or they financially cannot address this. So that's part of the reason why we're requesting the funds. Thank you. If you have any questions, please feel free.
All right, thank you very much to the administration for that presentation. It is much appreciated. I'm going to open it up now to the public unless any of my council members have any comments they'd like to make. I'm going to open it up to the public for public comment, question, answer. This is kind of an open period. You can come to the microphone here. We're going to move it out a little bit just so it isn't so close to the front there. At this point, you can come and ask any questions or make any comments. You do have a 2-minute limit, just so that we can ensure that we have a 2-minute limit in case anyone has any questions about that. The reason for the limit is to ensure that everyone has an opportunity to speak. And if we could stick to the proposal itself or any ideas that you have for spending proposal or any programs you'd like to see in the city that this money may be able to be utilized for. At this point, it's kind of first come, first serve. Please come to the microphone, state your name. If you're with an organization and you'd like to speak as a member of that organization, or if you're a resident of the city, if you could just tell the vicinity in which you live. And then just so that anyone who's not here that's listening in, you can also email public comments to publiccomment@harrisburgpa.gov. And all of your public comments will be given to council members so that they can have that for the record as well. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Sheila Dow Ford. I live at 2033 Bellevue Road, Harrisburg, PA. I'd like to first thank the city administration for the presentation, and thanks City Council for setting up this opportunity for feedback. I have a couple of concepts. First, I'd like for us to take a step back. I'm looking at my phone, so this is newfangled tool for me to use to read from, but I'll manage, I'm sure. And what I want to do is to say that I'm not going to talk in great detail about these specifics, but I want to suggest that you all take a systemic approach. In other words, step back, look at the population of the city, look at the demographics of the city, and look at how you are addressing the needs of each demographic group. That's a way to bring logic and, to me, coherence and consistency to the process. So I would suggest and urge you to engage in that kind of disciplined thinking as you move through this. For example, I am not opposed to housing. Housing is a longstanding, I've lived here for nearly 30 years. It's a huge issue in our city. It will continue to be an issue in our city. As we move through this, though, what we need to think about is how do we leverage those other dollars, the detail? You know, how do we leverage the other dollars that we get from grants and other resources, reservoirs, to leverage those dollars to build capacity around housing. And the same thing exists with respect to economic development. For example, $500,000. I've talked to a lot of people around this. You all know me. I was in that space for a while with Impact Harrisburg. That's not a lot of money. I respect and understand why that's the number, but I would suggest that if there's a discipline, a process to go through, to look at what the number really is, to look at what Impact Harrisburg is doing now in relation to the Chamber of Commerce, to look at those partnerships, to look at what M&T Bank is doing with Harrisburg University, to look at those partnerships and those relationships and see how you build them. I need 30 seconds more. I promise you, all right? Looking at the school district and how best to use funds, to think about job training, leveraging that, to think about the students in our schools. We're talking about building housing and building capacity. We have 50,000 people here, and we have to think about the children. That's a demographic group. What about, I've talked to others about this, and I don't know, but the Jewish Community Center, I don't know whether that's in the city or not, but retrofitting that for health and fitness, looking at those kinds of issues. You've got to be able to think systemically, think about the aging, think about middle income people, think about low income people. Do that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else that would like to approach the microphone?
Good evening. I'm Joseph Robinson, the president of the Martin Luther King Leadership Development Institute, and I do echo Sheila's comment about in terms of the plan, the thoughtfulness that went into the plan, and so we certainly commend you for that. There are many ways to peel this onion, no doubt about it, and there's never enough funds to go around. But I'm here tonight because we believe that we have an unprecedented opportunity to make a significant impact on both the residents of the city as well as those who provide services. I'm here today on behalf of a consortium of nonprofit and for-profit Black and brown businesses, urging City Council to set aside funds for use by these organizations who have a proven track record of service delivery. Because of the demographic makeup of the city, we are asking you to carve out $15 million of the remaining ARPA funds and establish a process for augmenting these nonprofits and Black businesses who suffered disproportionately during the COVID crisis. There are many such businesses and nonprofits in our city, and as you consider our recommendation, we want to provide you a list of at least 14 in our consortium that warrant serious consideration, aside from any others you may deem viable. The organizations stand in solidarity with, that we are standing in solidarity with are, and I'll read the list, and several of them are actually here in attendance with me tonight. Very quickly. OIC, Boys and Girls Club, Latino Hispanic American Community Center, the MLK Leadership Development Institute, the TLC Work-Based Training Program, Camp Curtin YMCA, and I will leave this with you. American Design Technology Management, IT Workforce Development, the Heinz Menaker Senior Center, Nativity School, MoSelf, Loop B&G, Police Athletic League, Blessed to Give, and Bro to Go. This list is not exhaustive or exclusive, but it is representative. There are many other organizations, including the one I formerly led, the South Central PA Sickle Cell Council is one, in fact, who was disproportionately affected. And we're also pleased to say that we have the support of the NAACP and the IMC, and I'm almost finished. For years, you have seen firsthand the good works of these organizations that I've listed. You know them, and you've likely lamented their funding challenges as they labor to make bricks without straw. What we are contending is that you now have the opportunity and resources to give these proven community-based organizations a long-needed and substantial infusion of resources to continue doing what they do already with integrity and commitment. Because of the Biden administration, we now have the means. All that we need from you is the will. Because we don't want to be myopic and presume to know the will of the residents, we intend to participate in the 2 remaining listening sessions so that we too can become more educated about the interests of city residents, many again of whom we serve. Thank you.
Thank you. Is
you.
there anyone else that would like to approach the microphone for any comments or questions?
Les Ford, 2033 Bellevue Road, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. This for me has been a work in progress over the last several days since I got the first notice of this proposed meeting. I was confused about the format and the goal, but if you bear with me, I think you can provide some clarity. I am speaking in concert with the prior organizations. We are working together, but I just want to elaborate out of my responsibility to the Heinz Menaker Senior Center and be very specific. Mr. Clerk, do you have that document you've distributed? Could you please distribute that, please? I prepared this for City Council. I had started this before I knew the scope of the meeting or the structure of the meeting. So I prepared for this eventuality. As I said, I'm working in concert with others, but I have been at this very specifically prior to this coming up. So I want to make sure that we get covered. All I'm trying to say is that not knowing what was going to happen in this meeting, I circulated a petition among my members and the citizens of Harrisburg who have participated in our food pantry over the last 3 years of COVID. We have literally put out tons of food into the community that has nothing to do with our activities day to day in the center because we were shut down because of COVID. But we continued our food distribution. We continued our efforts with health. We had our own vaccination program. I've told you that before. All of which is to say that the Heinz Center has worked through COVID. We have taken on financial responsibility that has put us in a negative position because of our commitment to this community. So if the administration can designate money to relieve people who have and organizations that have spent money during COVID, then I would like for the Heinz Center and such organizations as were mentioned before to participate in that. Finally, I will say that this, in my opinion, is the same plan that was put forward a year ago. I don't quite understand that it took us a year to get around to a session like this, number one, and number two, or to be a little vague as to the purpose and goal and structure of this meeting. If we do this again, I certainly hope we have a bit more detail relative to what you're trying to accomplish and where we are in the process. Obviously, there are timelines on this money. We have to.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And just to kind of follow up on some of your comments there, Mr. Lesford, thank you for making those. I will just say that City Council received the formal budget that came to us a few weeks ago, and now City Council is hosting listening sessions. The administration did host 7 town hall style sessions before they put a proposal together. And then from those sessions, this proposal was drafted and put out to the public in May. We did not get the formal budget down to City Council until a few weeks ago. And at that point, it's now in our hands to start getting public input so that we can start our process. So that's how we got where we are now. Moving forward, we will have another session tomorrow and a session on Saturday. Tomorrow we'll be at the YMCA on Camp Curtin YMCA on 6th Street. Saturday from 11 to 1 will be at the Mount Olive Baptist Church in South 14th Street. There'll be this exact same format, just presentation, question and answer. From that point, it will move on to a work session where it will be formally in a work session before city council where we will discuss what we've heard at these meetings, as well as anything that we've heard from the administration or any information that we have. At that point, if it's ready to move on to a legislative session, then it will move on to a legislative session. If any changes or amendments are to be made, they will be made in a legislative session. And when it's ready to be voted on, it will be voted on. So that's the process moving forward. Does anyone else, is there anyone else that would like to come forth and make any comments? Please feel free.
Hi, my name is Pam Auer and I live on Pine Street. And I also work for Center for Independent Living of Central PA, who is a nonprofit in the city. And I've been coming to the city council meetings and hearing how the money is going to be spent. And I'm really happy that some of the money will be used to finally make accessible bathrooms so people with disabilities can go to the bathroom in the building. Not trying to be silly, I'm being serious. And then the other thing I was wondering is I thought I read in there, sorry I'm late, I had to work late, but there was unused, undesignated money. And what I would love to see as a resident of Harrisburg is some kind of program, and I may need more money than what's left, but to work with businesses and residents and some kind of collaboration with the city to fix the sidewalks. Businesses say it's their building their building owners, and the cities rightly say it's the businesses, or if it's, in an area that the city owns, and then the residents who are responsible for the sidewalks a lot of times can't afford the maintenance. It would be really great to have some kind of program. Other cities have it where they work with their cities and get some kind of a grant to fix the sidewalks. It's really difficult using mobility device through the city in a lot of areas because of broken up sidewalks. And another concern that I have are seniors who are riding that line. They're not quite low income yet, but they're having difficulty maintaining. Yet they need some small modification in their home to keep them in their home and keep them safe. I've had an individual where she needed some modifications to make the toilet safe, and she couldn't afford a $300-400 larger toilet. Working with me, I got her some equipment to hold her over for a little while, but that doesn't keep her, keep it safe enough where if she had a higher toilet, that she'd be much safer. And same with maybe a roll-in shower. And they're living in places that are maybe not HUD, or they're not getting any federal funds. So those are some ideas, but thank you. For your time.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to come to the microphone for any comments or questions or?
Good evening, Patricia Stringer, resident of this city since 1973, taxpayer and probably involved in a number of organizations. What didn't get done, I guess, under the other administration, the people that actually died from COVID, we couldn't get everyone, but Aaron Johnson with Public Works had proposed that there would be a place in Reservoir Park that there would be these trees planted. So Mr. Baker, keep this in mind, that we could plant trees up in Reservoir Park and maybe put some bricks there honoring the people who actually died from COVID and everything. The other thing, let's look out for us seniors. We've been paying our taxes and everything. We need improvements to the home, just like this lady behind me said. So please put money aside for that. I talked to people today. They weren't able to come to this meeting this evening. So I said, I'll go and I'll say, let's put some money aside for senior citizens to repair their homes that they can continue to enjoy the city. And so those are just two of the things. I'm here for the seniors, and let's honor those people who have passed away because of COVID. There's probably some more areas, but I'll get you at the next meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I actually also had ADA sidewalk repair on my list, so that saves me some talking time. But two of the big talking
If you
points.
could state your name first.
Oh, gosh, I'm so sorry, I
No
forgot.
problem.
Amber Blaylock from North Third Street near the HMAC Center. Two of the big talking points when ARPA was being debated in Congress were the environment and infrastructure. Much of the currently allotted funds are for vitally important services, and others here have proposed additional extremely good uses, and I'm glad. But we do have money left. And I would like to ask that this council consider directing some of it towards better bike infrastructure for the city. Bike infrastructure has a number of advantages over car infrastructure. It's cheaper to maintain while moving more people per hour. It can help reduce congestion because people making short trips will choose to bike instead, meaning fewer cars on the road and less congestion for those who do still need to drive. Bike lanes are also an option for wheelchair power users and mobility scooter users for when the sidewalk conditions are poor or inaccessible, and it is much safer to do so than going down the same street as cars. But bike infrastructure can have even more benefits locally. We all know that bikes are much better for the environment than cars, which would help meet Harrisburg's environmental goals, but they can also reduce local emission levels, which improves the health of residents, particularly children with developing lungs and those with lung conditions like asthma. And it can further improve health by encouraging exercise. We're considering water parks and playgrounds, and I genuinely think that's amazing and I'm thrilled. But I really hope that people will be able to bike to them. I especially hope that kids will be able to bike them because those under the age of 16 can't really get places by themselves now and rely on parents to drive them. I'm sure a lot of parents would like to be able to not have to shuttle their kids everywhere. It's also very useful for those who cannot or do not drive. And it can also help local businesses because cyclists are much more likely to make stops at passing businesses and make unplanned visits than those in cars because it's just easier. A bike is also the most useful between 1 and 5 miles, so cyclists are more likely to bike to local businesses than out of town places. Thank you.
Thank you.
Evening, Mark Hawthorne, 1227 Berry Hill Street, Boys and Girls Club. As I've been an advocate for you for over 30 years, one of the things I appreciate the proposals that's come in today, but in particular about the proposal of Hall Manor Pool. It's a pool that I grew up learning how to swim coming through the 70s. And I'm glad that there is a proposal for that to be improved. But one of the things that you must be aware of that are in the inner city, Black and brown children have always traditionally not been able to learn this life skill of swimming. And in looking at a water park, it has great features in terms of summertime activity and things like that. But that skill of swimming, I've been responsible for helping my son, myself, learn how to swim over the last 30 years. And Hall Manor Pool has been at that site that we've been able to utilize each summer to teach our children water safety and also how to survive in a world that is 2/3 water. So I just wanted that to be considered how we would move forward to have safety instructions for children swimming. So that's my point for your proposal. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to approach the microphone for a public comment or question?
All right, let's try that again. Hi, my name is Brandon Basom. I'm from the 3000 block of Harrisburg and Uptown. Actually, what I came here to say was pretty well covered by others, and I appreciate that. I think the points were made that a lot of the projects that are being proposed, wonderful projects for the parks, are less effective if kids can't get to them. If kids can't get from the middle of Allison Hill to South Allison Hill because Paxton Street and the highways run through it, and it'd be a death trap to do so. If kids can't get from downtown to Allison Hill or uptown because Cameron Street is a death trap and people continue to die. I believe that making it easier for pedestrians, for micromobility to get around the city as well as cars is incredibly important, and in fact would cost very little this money, as a lot of the projects that we've been asking for have already been planned and funded, but have simply been either cease and desisted in the case of State Street and left for now over a year with absolutely no action, which I thought the cease and desist was an abuse of power and a bad judgment, but now it's starting to seem like it's either malevolent or incompetence, because to let it sit for 12 months is inexcusable. Other ones, such as the Urban Meadow and the Forester Street improvements, are just being left to sit on the vine. The ADA improvements, I mentioned, we tend to only do curb cuts and ADA accessibility when we pave the streets. As far as I know, when this administration started, we haven't contracted out a mile of repaving for the city. Thus, that's less ADA, compliance that we're going to have. So I would ask us to reconsider our pedestrian, our walkability, our micromobility. I would ask us to take some action to force this administration to actually do their job and start making the city safer for everyone, and not just those in large, expensive vehicles. Because as you know, there's a huge portion of the population who can't afford them, and they shouldn't have to keep dying on the streets as they have this past year in really great numbers. In fact, some even close to me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Evening, my name is Richard Soto, 1339 South 18th Street. I want to speak about the swimming pool. I live across the street from there. And I know y'all wanted to do a water park, and I know they have plans for a water park in Reservoir Park. I don't think we need 2 water parks in the city. I think we just need one beautiful one in the designated area in Reservoir Park and rebuild the swimming pool that we have in Hall Manor. Put some lights up, some security up there, and give the jobs to the youth that also come from the south side of Harrisburg, because that's very important. When they do the hiring process, I never see our kids from the south side of Harrisburg getting the chance to work there. Maybe 1 or 2 person, everybody else live on the hill or uptown. But what about the youth that live in that area? The people who live in that area. That's why maybe it be always a lot of conflicts there. And we also have like a 2-way street going there. I think we need to look at another way, another pathway to going out, to be coming in or going out when they exit, when they come out the pool. There's a park in the back down there, like next to Hall Manor housing project. That park going way back there, it belonged to the city, not the housing authority. The back of the woods back there, I'm sure my man right here, right? He was out there when I was showing y'all. That's the city's, not housing authority. They keep dumping back there, trash and everything. I mean, truckloads. Nobody don't want to do nothing about it. I got videos and pictures of it, and I report it to y'all all the time, and nobody don't come out there because y'all don't care, because you don't live out there. I do. I lived out there about 25 years now. No, and it ain't right. I mean, we have a lot of money here. God bless. And I'm hoping that y'all do the right thing with that money. I would like to see y'all get a new government building. Make this a youth center for the city of Harrisburg with a vocational training.
Thank you.
For the kids. You're welcome. 1 sec. That bell don't mean nothing to me. But I'm just saying that, I mean, we had to look at these things right here to make it better for the youth. We got some money, let's do the right thing with it. Let's stop doing the money with the same areas on the hill, then uptown, midtown. What about the south side of Harrisburg?
We
For many
appreciate it, Mr.
years, we've
Soto.
been
If you could
neglected.
wrap it up.
But for many, yeah, I am.
Thank
But for many years, we've been neglected. We didn't see money and everything. $1 million to Habitat and them. South side of Harrisburg still look the same. Nothing changed there. Now we got some money. Can we get blessed in the south side of Harrisburg? We pay taxes too. We are citizens there also. As you know, y'all been living there when y'all was kids too. Y'all know.
We do know. Thank
So
you very
please,
much.
let's do that. I appreciate that. And I hopefully that you will be on top of your job and find out why they keep dumping trash over there where I showed you at the last time. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to make a public comment or have any questions regarding the proposal? Going once. If there's anyone who already spoke that would like to speak again, please feel free to come back to the microphone.
Right. Yeah, sorry, just as Council Vice President noted, said, I think the limit was just to make sure we had enough time for people. We want to hear from everybody. I don't think it's ever been this council's intent to silence people, but if there were other residents that wanted to speak, we wanted to give folks that opportunity. As everyone's noted, we're not going to see the federal government just give communities millions of dollars ever again. So we want to ensure that we're doing this correctly, as well as doing it within the confines of the ARPA funds allocations that are able to be utilized. So I think we're all willing to take all the feedback. We have been advocating for this process for a number of years since the previous administration. So we're all glad that we're here now. So looking forward to hearing from you and hearing from other community members as well. So just wanted to note that.
Chair Green, I also think it would be helpful to the audience and the community to know what the parameters are for the funds. Are there things that cannot be funded, or are there things that could be funded to a certain extent? Because as folks give input, it would be good for them to have an idea that what the chances are that their suggestion is workable within the regulations that we have.
There are parameters. I cannot rat them off the top of my head as I do not know them. If the administration would like to give an overview, I know we have the consultant here in the audience, but he is here as an audience member. So I'm not going to ask you, put you on the spot and ask you to do it. But if the administration would be able to answer some of that.
There's a book about this thick, touching it. Typically, the way you want to look at these funds has to positively impact a group of people who were affected by the pandemic. There's a real loose wording around that. There's obviously things you can do like revenue replacement. So if you look at a lot of other cities, what they've decided to do is take the bulk of the money and do revenue replace it because it gave them more flexibility. But it's really project by project. So for example, when we looked at the tree component of it, the reason why that's approved is because it improves walkability. Walkability was a big component of ARPA, was how you can improve that, looking at how trees are affecting sidewalks and how trees are affecting our public spaces. It's quite a large document. I mean, Tom, if you want to.
Yeah. And then to your point, Mr. Hartman, sorry, not to cut you off, but if you go to the U.S. Department of Treasury's website, there are 4 big overarching themes in which and how the money can be used. So it's to replace lost public sector revenue, as Mr. Hartman was alluding to respond to the far-reaching public health and negative economic impacts of the pandemic. Again, these are very broad subjects, so that's why we have consultants and other folks that try to dig down deeper. So when we do get specific proposals or ideas from the community and residents, we can see if those fit into the 400 plus page guidance documents that the federal government put out. The third would be provide premium pay for essential workers. As was alluded to before, money was used for paying for a lot of our first responders who were essential or folks that were deemed essential during the pandemic as defined in all of these guidance, as well as invest in water, sewer, and broadband infrastructure. So those are those larger overarching themes, and we're trying to get more project input and feedback on more specifics so that we can really dig down and work to see what would be included in that. So I think in that lens, that's how I'm just trying to scope out the thing as how we can spend the money, and we just have to dig in a little bit deeper on specific projects and also ensure that we're following all the federal guidelines, because as was noted here, we have until December 31, 2024 to obligate any of the money until 2026 to make sure all of the funds are actually spent. So while it's not a long time in terms of being able to get that money spent, because communities across the country, communities across the Commonwealth, cities in central Pennsylvania are all receiving funds. So that's going to limit the amount of, if everyone's getting all this money, making sure we have enough contractors and folks to be able to work with to ensure that the money that the city of Harrisburg was allocated actually gets spent.
And I know from the discussion we had with individuals' comments, nothing that pretty much anybody mentioned here is off the
They're
table.
off the table, right?
I mean, you're looking at infrastructure improvements that, we were looking, we heard things about home modifications for people with disabilities. We can look at what we currently have scoped out here on Denise's end. We were already talking and look at broadening the scope to include that into there. So that's why I think this discussion could ultimately be a good thing. But pretty
Yes.
much everything we've gotten from
So
people
far
here
has been.
at 30,000 feet an allowable expense.
Well, thank you both for clarifying. We'd like to return to receiving public feedback because that's why we're here. So if we could resume comments for a second round, if anyone would like to, please.
Dow Ford, 2033 Bellevue Road. Going to pick up where I sort of left off, but if you will indulge me, there will be a bit of reiteration. The first is, and most important, is to take a systemic approach, meaning look at paradigms, look at demographics, look at your constituents, and figure out what works best for them, okay? They say that you can tell how a community values its citizens by virtue of how it treats its children and its elderly. So, be mission oriented in your approach, right? I see some people shaking their heads. I believe this stuff. So, but it's also important to not get in the weeds too quickly, but also to think creatively and to think in paradigms about this, to think in tranches, to think creatively, but also substantively. I would also say that it is also important to build partnerships. That is something that we have to become better at. I'm learning to be more positive in as I age, okay, as I mature. So I want you all to really think about building those partnerships. The Boys and Girls Club, the Big Brothers, Big Sisters. I don't think you've ever met. I'm not talking about you in general. I'm talking about the city writ large with the Boys and Girls Club, or rather the Big Brothers and Big Sisters, in a way where you can do a program on the needs of the children in our community, a needs assessment to figure out, that would help you, sir, what it is that we need, okay? Then I'm going to point out something else, and that goes to our gentleman here who talked about swimming. Howard University, okay, has a Black swim team and they're winners. You've got to think about that. Please think about lifting up the level. Think about how you can do that. And because we have to become more aspirational in our approaches to how we do this. Think about building those partnerships, building the paradigms, using them, and also talking to other people. Let me say this, not trying to be negative. No one has contacted me about any of this. And we were Impact Harrisburg, okay? We did a lot. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Joe Robinson again, MFA Leadership Development Institute. Just so you're aware, what we proposed tonight was saying working with this consortium into Phyllis Point, working collaboratively. That's what we're attempting to do. All the nonprofits and for-profit businesses we laid out tonight all have a relationship already. And so you're looking at, maximizing anything that they do. Now, just so you know, in terms of the path forward, we went through the same process with our county commissioners, because the county makeup of the county is about 30% Black and brown. We asked them to set aside $5 million for a fund of money to go towards these nonprofits, and they opened it up to nonprofits, for-profit businesses, and even some local municipalities. And so they ultimately end up allocating about $3 million instead of the 5 we requested. Because the city's Black and brown makeup is significantly larger, we came in and asked you tonight for a $15 million set aside, again, for the same purpose. But again, the point is they developed what they call the Community Matters Grant. For one time, Communities Matters Grant, where they were able to then set aside these funds and develop a process, a scoring mechanism and criteria that enable the nonprofits to benefit and apply for these funds. So we're still awaiting the final word from them, actually, in terms of what the actual award has been, but they created a mechanism for us to apply and be considered. So I'm just throwing that out to you in terms of, if you want a path forward, you can certainly consult with the county commissioners if you are so inclined, and get some idea of how they structured it and see if it has some relevance here for the city of Harrisburg. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Chad Fry. I'm a resident at 623 North 2nd Street downtown. I want to tell you a story and commend the city and the council for public works and the 311 system. This morning, after several months, I actually saw folks come out and pick up a trash can that was left outside of a property from the St. Patrick's Day parade. It had been there for almost a month and it was a trash can that was overflowing. And it took, I was gotten to run around of who to talk to, but 311 sorted it out. So kudos to 311. I was inspired to hear about the firefighters asking for radios because our 911 systems need a lot of support too in communication. And finally, I just want to point out 211, which is a lesser known number, but during COVID was leaned on tremendously. That is a woefully underfunded and underrepresented support mechanism for all human services across the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. It's operated by Contact Helpline. So my question would simply be, could there be consideration as to ways to better connect 311, 911, and 211 to better serve people in their time of need? Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Earl Harris. I used to be a pastor at St. Paul Missionary Baptist Church. I want to speak to South Harrisburg. One of the things that will happen is there's going to be eminent domain for some of those properties. Those are homeowners. If you give them fair market value, they're not going to be able to buy a house for those prices elsewhere. And some of them can't afford to have their houses taken. Please be considerate of that. Secondly, the pool is 3 months. If you're going to do anything, make it 12 months so you can have training. You'll never have trained swimmers in 3 months. There's nothing there which is sustainable in terms of long-term. It's a 3-month piece in terms of nice activities, but you're not going to train. You're going to train swimmers in 3 months. It's all year round. So if they're going to do it right. But again, homeowners in South Harrisburg, they don't have much, but it's all they have. And the law says you give them fair market value, and that's all you give them. It's not going to be enough. How are you going to add to the pot so that they can buy another house cash and don't have payments? Because many of them are on Social Security or disability, and they're facing these issues. Richie Soto was one of them. So I ask you to consider that. Secondly, on the housing thing, I'd like what Denise Hill has suggested, Mrs. Hill, in terms of housing. I just ask again, if you take housing, I worked at Pittsburgh HUD, Fannie Mae, and Pennsylvania Housing Finance Agency as general counsel, and built apartments. We built Orchard Apartments across the river. When you take low-income housing, build affordable housing, make it low-income rental, you concentrate poverty. So you move it from here to here. It's going to lay there for 40 years. Suppose you take assets and move people and give them enough money for a down payment on a co-op. The New York City and Brooklyn has faced this issue for years. And what they did was they recognized that if you have a person buys into a co-op, now they have equity and they have a future. If you give a person equity, they're going to treat the property better, they're going to treat the surroundings better, everything else. Affordable housing in Harrisburg is low-income housing moved from X spot to Y spot. And all you've done is shift poverty from one place to another, and you haven't addressed it. We need home ownership as Blacks and Browns. That's what we were cut out of in 1935 by the FDR people. That's what we're cut out of in the GI Bill in 1941. And that's what we've been cut out by redlining since day one. That's why we're so far behind the economic scale, because the white people got housing at 100% financing and we got zilch. This is an opportunity to address that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Talk again. I appreciate that. We've been, I don't, you said about training. I guess they was like training some people swimming in the pool sometimes. I missed that one. I mean, they train who they want to train, like family members and stuff. And they, you know the deal. I reported them too. They let in before they open, they let in whoever they want. The pool supposed to open at 11. It don't open up till 2 o'clock in the afternoon. We know the story because I call and complain. So we know. So the other thing I wanted to ask about the money, the funds, can you use them funds for security purpose as well in the city?
Could you explain that a little more?
Like cameras. Why we can't put cameras throughout the city and have a hub station in one area to monitor crimes around the city of Harrisburg? Because I think that would be beneficial and it would help out a lot in the city. I've been said this, we thought about this back in 2000, right, Pastor Harris? Long time ago, and they was looking into it. And I don't know what happened to that. Just like when they was redoing the John Harris School, they forgot the pool somewhere down the line. I don't know what happened to the pool, but we never got the pool in John Harris neither. You know, Mr. Lawson, we've been spoke about that back in 2000. So this is how long my journey was in here with the city, about 2000. You know, I remember was nobody here. Nobody, 2, 3 people, that's it. You remember, right, Ms. Green? I know y'all remember. And we used to bring teenagers down here too. And the teenagers encouraged a lot of residents, adults back then, because they used to come down here and talk about the parks, the lights, cleaning up. Asha Green, you was one of them who came down here with us just for kids outreach. Remember that? And it's the same issues, the same thing over and over again. I mean, we got some money. Y'all been there. Y'all know what to do. Let's make it happen. Let's worry about the issue, people's safety also throughout the city of Harrisburg. You know, like Pastor Harris said, they pushing us out of one area and putting us in this other area. Now they're going to be pushing you out that area, and then you're going to be pushing us down toward the south, and then they're going to remove us there. So then we be going to go. What is it going to be? Excuse me, I'm not racist, and it's going to be a vanilla city then? It's supposed to be of people of color throughout the whole city. We don't supposed to look at colors in anything, you know? Everybody have a say so. Everybody pay taxes one way or another. Some pay more, some pay less, you know? But if we can look at that too, the cameras throughout the city, a lot of cities in Jersey and New York and Baltimore, they have cameras all through the city. You know, with one big hub station right there, we create more jobs too. You know, in the contracts, when y'all do that, yeah, relax. I know, you don't know me. I don't know you neither, but thank you, no disrespect. Make sure you give contracts to people in the city too, because there's a lot of people in the city got their own business, contractor, plumbing, electrician, they got license and everything, but it seems like they can't even get a contract from the city of Harrisburg. Why is that? I'm just trying to figure that one out too. It's not fair to them neither. It's not fair to a lot of people in the city of Harrisburg. No, a lot of people who don't know, because a lot of them just moved in the city of Harrisburg.
Thank
But
you, Mr. Soto.
I
We
would appreciate
it.
that. Y'all know, y'all was there, y'all know. So I'm holding y'all accountable. I know y'all person. I don't know him person, I don't know him person. But them three down here, I know y'all person. Y'all know the deal.
We
Come on, let's make
appreciate
it happen, please.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Pam Mauer, 124 Pine Street. When they were talking about the things that we can and can't do with the money, it brought up some other issues that I just wanted to make real quick comments on. Talk about who the people that were impacted by COVID and getting the money to them. I agree with the gentleman was talking about housing. We need affordable, accessible, integrated housing. And the people that were most impacted by COVID were individuals that are incarcerated in nursing homes right now. They had no way to get out and they weren't being supported to get out during COVID. And the highest population of people who died from COVID were in nursing homes. So what they need, most of the people that are in nursing homes need is housing. So there are people who need the housing. I know there are people living in the community that need housing. I don't doubt that at all. But the people that are stuck in nursing homes with no way to get out need housing. So that's something that I would ask for. The other thing I would ask for is it took a long time to get the designation of what was it, the people that were so important during COVID, the police officers, forget the term they use for them. Essential workers. Direct care workers do not get any credit. It took a long time to get them to get designated as essential workers, but direct care workers were the ones showing up day in and day out for people with disabilities that were in their homes that without any other assistance, they couldn't get out of bed in the morning. They couldn't get dressed. They couldn't do anything. Yeah, they were still stuck in their home like everybody else, but the direct care workers were the ones that were there for them, and they didn't get enough recognition, and they are so low paid. The rates of direct care workers are, the average around here is $11 or $12 an hour. And they can go to Walmart, they can go to Sheetz, they can go anywhere else and get more money. So what can we do to try and help those people that were the heroes too during COVID? So those are some things that I'm thinking. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Amber Blaylock, 1100 block of North 3rd Street again. I'll keep it a little briefer this time, but I just wanted to note that while we were talking about accessibility, it occurs to me that there are, in addition to issues with businesses that need to, and homeowners having trouble taking care of sidewalks, there's a number of sidewalks in the city where there's like actual infrastructural stuff just in the middle of the sidewalk blocking it. For example, on, I believe it was Forster and 2nd, along 2nd Street, there's just, I think it's the street light post in the middle of the sidewalk. I can't imagine trying to get a wheelchair around that. That's something that I think would be really good to try and get identified and fixed with this money.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Hi, Rhonda May, with the Fair Housing Council. Good evening. I just wanted to suggest that when you're establishing the program for home renovations and upgrades for the community, that you consider, as others have suggested, these collaborative efforts with the nonprofits, community organizations that are on the ground. Just having applications at City Hall or online may not be accessible for a lot of the residents who would need this kind of assistance and help. The county had really good success when they collaborated with agencies throughout the community when they were running the emergency rental assistance program. So the partnerships are important, as has been suggested, and also accessibility is important. So I just would like you to that Fair Housing Council would be happy to have applications processed and managed in our location. Heinz Medicare Center, where a lot of the seniors are more than likely in need of this kind of assistance, would be a great resource for the city. So I would hope that you would take that kind of partnership in consideration.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that has any questions or comments regarding the proposed ARPA spending? Anyone at all that would like to make a comment or a brief third comment? If you're coming back up for the third time, it has to be a little brief, right? Please approach the microphone. Could you please approach the microphone?
And I was asking to send emails out. I don't know how many people got emails, but I never got a respond back. Because a lot of stores out here, like Koreans and stuff like that, a lot of they don't care about our peoples out here. Kids, teenagers, those liquid things with the white pipes and stuff like that be smoking, and they got to be a certain age to buy them. They be selling them to our youth in our city. We need to come up with a law in the city, and I want to work with y'all on that, please. I think that if they get caught, and I spoke to Chief Carter about it, I have a meeting with him about it. I think when they get caught, they should lose their license of the store in the city of Harrisburg and don't open up another one at all. Because if you hurting our kids and they smoking that thing and it makes their minds hallucinate and they out here doing crazy things in the streets. And we wonder what's going on because they selling that liquid stuff and everything to our youth out there. They don't care, you know? And there's a lot of stores in the city of Harrisburg selling to our youth. And we need to look into that and come up with a resolution to punish the store owners, the business owners on that. Give them a fine, give them a jail time, take their license, make sure they don't open back up in the store in the city of Harrisburg. Let somebody else open up in the Harrisburg that's going to be honest and care about the people in the community also. It's not going to hurt our youth. You know, honestly, I got kids. I don't know about y'all, you know, but I know a lot of y'all care about kids. You know, a lot of kids is getting affected about this thing, and they selling it to our youth like that. We can stay here and say, nah, no, it's not. Might look at the other way, but nah, yes, it is. It is happening. It is a lot. And our kids is being affected mentally from it. So please, you know, want to get with y'all on that. But I don't know, did you send the emails out, sir? You did? Everybody got it? Everybody got it, correct? I'm just asking you, you work for us. I'm a citizen. You work for us. I pay taxes.
I believe
I'm
he said
asking
he
a
sent
question.
the email out,
Yes, the
Mr.
email
Soto.
was sent out.
Okay, so nobody ain't answered back. You wasn't here at the time. You wasn't. I seen when they were speaking about you about to be appointed, but nobody answered back. I ain't that bad. I ain't bad. I know I talk loud and stuff, and I say what's on my mind. And that's what it is. I've been like that for a very long time, and I don't change for nobody. I don't hold my tongue. If you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. Long as I don't threaten you, long as I don't disrespect you, that's it. If it's good for our people in the community, I'm good for it. No? That's all. Thank you very
Thank you.
much.
We
I gotta
appreciate that.
go. Y'all, thank you for sending the emails. I'll be waiting for somebody to answer.
Thank you. Anyone else?
John
We've got
Watson,
time. We've still got about 20 minutes, so.
John Watson, 628 Benton Street. First and foremost, I think that certainly want to thank y'all for a lot of the things that's been going on in the city, the curbs, the sidewalks, expanding on that right there. Trash cans. I just want to talk to you about trash cans in the high traffic areas throughout the city. maybe larger trash cans in the more high traffic areas. Maybe giving them a little more appeal, like, you know, here's a trash can. Some of them, we still working with the old ones that's been around, you know, probably as long as me, you know, and I thought that that might be a good thing to go, or a good way to go. Also, some of the, I don't know what the situation is. I know oftentimes the houses that are owned in the city, specifically on the Hill, Allison Hill sections and stuff like that, are the trees and stuff are on the properties per se. Some of them, there's a question as to whether or not an owner, I own a number of houses on the Hill as well. But some of the tree pruning, it's very difficult to get through some of the alleyways and stuff because there's, you know, branches and stuff either need pruned or some of the trees need to be taken out altogether so that we could, you know, ingress, egress in between the alleyways and streets can be accessible. And the aforementioned trash cans. That's one of the big things right there because they overflow so fast. The old ones, they overflow so fast. You know, we use them, you know, throughout the city and everything. I think that would contribute to, you know, less debris and trash and stuff on the street. That's something you guys. All right. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else that would like to make any comment or have any questions about the proposed ARPA spending? Going once? Going twice? Are there any council members that would like to make any comment or any question or anything regarding the proposed spending?
Yes, Chair Green, I'd just like to thank all the residents and the administration for coming out tonight. It was amazing to hear everyone's voices and opinions and thoughts, suggestions. So I look forward to the next 2 days.
I want to echo Councilman Rodriguez's sentiments, and it sounds like a lot of the citizens' needs are similar to what we're proposing, and we can tweak some of these things and figure out a way to integrate some of the businesses that have been represented here as well. So I think we're off to a good start. Day one is really exciting. Thanks.
All right, I would just like to say the same thing. Thank you all for being here tonight. Thank you to the administration. Thank you to our consultant for coming during your personal time. We appreciate everyone being here tonight. We appreciate the questions and the comments. I'll just say again that we will have another one of these meetings tomorrow at the Cam Curtin YMCA on 6th Street, as well as one Saturday at Mount Olive Baptist Church on South 14th Street. So please spread the word. Feel free to come out to those. I will pass it back to Council President. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Vice President Green, for your leadership on these meetings. We know that it was very important for all council members to hear from the public on the proposal before we took any action. So I'd just like to thank all of the residents and members of the public who were here tonight, who offered feedback. You're certainly appreciated and know that you are heard. We look forward to the next 2 meetings. Hope your schedules will govern your attendance. If not, please feel free to share your written comments via email. Again, the email is publiccomment@harrisburgpa.gov. The time is 7:03 p.m. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you very much, everyone. We stand adjourned.